Cruella star Emma Stone is said to be weighing her options, while Emily Blunt is reportedly keeping a close eye on Jungle Cruise figures, as other actors are expected to join Scarlett Johansson in her payroll with Disney. Former editor of The Hollywood Reporter and entertainment lawyer Matt Belloni said in his blog that Stone, 32, and Blunt, 38, could be the next stars to take action against the film giant. Stone played the lead in Disney's May 2021 101 Dalmatians live-action remake Cruella, while Blunt stars in Disney's Jungle Cruise out for release this weekend. Both are said to have deals with Disney to earn royalties on box office sales. Speculation has been mounting that Johansson's war with Disney marks only the beginning of stars pushing back against film companies over alleged loss of earnings. Johansson, 36, filed her lawsuit against Disney Thursday, claiming she lost out on $50 million as a result of Black Widow being released on streaming service Disney Plus at the same time as its debut in theaters. The Hollywood star had struck a deal with the company that a portion of her pay would come from back-end box office sales when the film debuted. Since then, Gerard Butler filed his own lawsuit on Friday against New Image/Millennium Films, claiming he is owed at least $10 million for the 2013 action film Olympus Has Fallen. Belloni said Stone is currently watching the numbers for Cruella before she decides whether to also seek lost earnings. Like Black Widow, Cruella was released on Disney Plus at the same time as it hit theaters across the US. Blunt is also mulling whether to action over Jungle Cruise once she sees how the film performs, wrote Belloni. Blunt had already objected to Paramount's decision to release her film A Quiet Place Part 2 to streaming earlier this summer. A Quiet Place Part 2 was first released in cinemas on May 28, before going to streaming on Paramount Plus 45 days later on July 12. This was earlier than the typical lag time of around 90 days between a movie being released and appearing on a streaming service. Blunt complained after movie theaters had already reopened again as lockdown measures ended. Belloni indicated that other actors are likely to also follow suit, writing that the floodgates might be opening. There is an unusually high amount of cheering going on today in the talent community, which indicates there's issues aren't going away anytime soon. Disney is notoriously difficult to deal with and has become even more so under Disney CEO Bob Chapek, he wrote. One Hollywood talent agent echoed this viewpoint, telling Variety that a lot of Hollywood has been cheering Johansson on this week. A lot of other actors are cheering for Scarlett and rooting her on, the agent said. She has a lot of power, and that makes this a visible conversation that puts Disney on the spot. By doing all of this in public, she might be able to change the rulebook. Next month, The Suicide Squad starring Margot Robbie and Viola Davis will head straight to HBO Max at the same time as its August 6 release in theaters. Warner Bros. Is releasing its entire 2021 slate of big movies simultaneously on HBO Max. The plan was announced in late 2020, when COVID was at its peak, with Warner vowing to continue with the move, even as hospitalizations and deaths shrink. DailyMail.com has reached out to both of their agents for comment. On Friday, Butler's filed his lawsuit, claiming he is owed at least $10 million for Olympus Has Fallen. Butler claims box office receipts failed to mention that $8 million had gone to its own executives. The film went on to gross $170 million worldwide, spawning two equally successful sequels, London Has Fallen and Angel Has Fallen. The lawsuit alleges that producers have earned tens of millions of dollars from Olympus, but refused to pay Butler a penny of the grosses and profits promised to him in the parties' agreement. The actor's contract meant he would receive 10% of net profits from the film, in addition to 6% of domestic gross above $70 million, and then a further 12% of foreign-adjusted gross receipts over $35 million. Johansson filed her bombshell lawsuit against Disney one day earlier, accusing the film company of breaching its contract over Black Widow. The lawsuit, filed in Los Angeles Superior Court on Thursday, claims she had been guaranteed that Black Widow would have an exclusive theatrical release, and that the bulk of her salary was based on the box office performance. The company also released her salary figures for the last two Marvel movies. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the company said, adding her $20 million fee for this film and $15 million fee Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers: Endgame. Disney has fully complied with Ms. Johansson's contract, the company said. Furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date. Johansson's talent agency slammed the company for releasing her salary, saying it was done in an attempt to weaponize her success as an artist and businesswoman. Disney's direct attack on her character and all else they implied is beneath the company that many of us in the creative community have worked with successfully for decades, Brian Lord, co-chairman of the Creative Artists Agency, said in a statement. This suit was filed as a result of Disney's decision to knowingly violate Scarlett's contract, Lord said. They have very deliberately moved the revenue stream and profits to the Disney Plus side of the company, leaving artistic and financial partners out of their new equation. That's it, pure and simple. Black Widow took in $60 million on the streaming platform Disney Plus on the opening weekend alone, the company previously announced in its first breakdown of steaming figures for a movie. The movie set a pandemic-era record, bringing in $218 million worldwide over opening weekend earlier this month, including the streaming figures, plus $80 million domestic box office and $78 million internationally. However, the movie's box office performance dropped off sharply after the opening weekend, leading some analysts to question whether the Disney Plus streaming release was taking a bite out of ticket sales. Black Widow saw box office receipts plunge 67% after opening weekend, and ticket sales currently stand at $319 million globally, putting the film on track to become one of the lowest-grossing Marvel movies of all time. This last year, the pandemic drove many studios to abandon traditional cinema releases and release films straight to streaming as theaters were shuttered for months. Warner Bros. Decided to release its full slate of movies this year on HBO Max on the same day that they hit theaters. Parent company AT&T, which owns both Warner Bros. And HBO, appears pleased with the formula and plans to extend it. Last week, Warner Media chief Jason Kilar revealed that in 2022 Warner Bros. Will be producing 10 films that will debut on HBO Max the same day they're released. Disney also moved towards simultaneous streaming release of movies due to the pandemic. Multiple stars and directors have pushed back on the shift to streaming service releases because they cut into the much larger profits that come from traditional months-long exclusive theater runs. Warner Bros. And Warner Media was forced to pay more than $200 million to talent up front last year to compensate for filmmakers' loss of traditional profit participation after it chose to release movies on HBO Max at no additional cost to consumers. And in May it was reported that A Quiet Place 2 director John Krasinski and star Emily Blunt demanded more money from Paramount Pictures after its parent company Viacom put the film on Paramount Plus 45 after its theatrical release.